Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack. Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
With practice and qualifying in the books from Pocono, Brian and I are in to get you set for the Great American Outback Steakhouse 3000. From a DraftKings perspective, we'll run through all of practice and qualifying, build some lineups, give you some thoughts with the whole player pool over on DraftKings, and then take a peek at the outright odds, see how they've moved, see what changes have been made. As you can see, I'm being joined by the hot mess express that is Brian Twining. The Vegas pool scene got the best of him, and he's now turned into the Terminator, but that's okay. We will still run through the player pool. We will still give you his thoughts, my thoughts. He was able to watch practice and qualifying from the Circus Swim if you're not following him on the X machine. Brian Twining, you got chlorine in your dome and water coming out of every hole, but you're here for the people, and that's all that matters.
I sure do. Yep. Today was Scott Fishbowl 15 live draft in Vegas, third year here. So, obviously we were at Stadium Swim, and of course
Would you say the third time was the charm or not so much?
It was like 40-mile-per-hour winds, so that definitely wasn't fun, but it wasn't 120 degrees like it was last year, so that's good. However, this year with NASCAR being on Prime right now, practice and qualifying was actually not on the big board at Stadium Swim, so I had to watch it kind of from my phone. So it was more so me watching lap times. So obviously my analysis is not as sharp as it was. And as Kyle alluded to, my not so smart self is a natural swimmer. And so, of course, even in the circuit pools, I was underwater with my eyes open, swimming for hours. And now I look like, I guess, a demon. And I could barely see. And as Kyle said, I got chlorine water coming out of my nose, my ears, nowhere else. So it's not like Shane Van Gisbergen last week. But
no, but
I'm still here.
Got Brian here. As I mentioned, we'll run through the player pool. We'll run through some of our thoughts. We have our practice model, courtesy of Win the Race, as well as projections. So we can build some lineups. We can get some thoughts out. We can see if the lap times matched our expectations and what we missed and what we didn't miss, all that good stuff. So let me present the screen. And we can run through it. So is Denny Hamlin just going to cook the field? He's still 11K. He's starting first. He's on the pole. His outright odds are super duper short, and they've only gotten shorter since he went and did that. He's got the baby swag. Do you have to play him like we did with SVG last week, or do you think there's room for other potential early dominators? You're muted.
Yeah, rookie mistake. This is Denny's house. Yeah. He had an early qualifying spot, and he still grabbed the pole.
Yeah.
How do you not play him this week?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be popular. He's going to be good. If you're building, kind of like last week, I think, obviously, if you faded SVG and went anywhere else, it didn't work out. But that doesn't mean the strategy and process was wrong. I think if you want to build a couple lineups and you want to shoot for the moon, I think fading Denny is fine. I think if you want to build some cash lineups, obviously he's a must. I think if you're building 10 lineups, 15, or even if they're entering a handful of contests, I think mixing him in makes sense. But if you're like, you know what, I'm just going to fade 40-50% of the field that has him, maybe that's a little aggressive. But I think he's going to be, in terms of ownership, high 30s, low 40s, just because expectations, how good he's been here, and how fast his car was. Beyond him, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, William Byron, 20, 24, and 31, and then Christopher Bell starting in 9th. So we were talking a little bit about Bowman before we started recording, but it seems like Hendrick's just not, something wasn't right. Byron was actually looking good, and I think potentially worthy of that kind of 8-1 excitement that I had when I kept looking at his outright price.
Yep.
Never officially pulled the trigger on it. Never could really get myself there. I was having a great day, having a great run, but then Biff disqualifying run. I haven't heard officially, but I think he's going to a backup car. I'll search for Pockrass now, but
So I'm pretty sure I saw something that said that they believe they can make repairs, which is astounding considering the wreck that he had looked like that car was junked.
yeah.
That being said, I will add the fact that his qualifying spot is 31st, even if he does have to go to a backup car and start in the back, that those 6 spots, that is not going to change the fact of the type of car that he had. Especially, I mean, this happened less than a month ago. Ross Chastain went to a backup car and won the race.
Yeah. We did talk a little bit about that, especially because that was in Charlotte. So I think that helped a little bit, just having, because he was able to have Trackhouse guys come out and help work on the car a little bit.
True,
Now they're
very
at
true.
Pocono. But yeah, I'm okay. So I'm looking right now on Jeff Gluck's Twitter feed. It is confirmed. Hendrick, they will fix Byron's primary Chevy that crashed on Saturday afternoon. So that's exciting because that means I know there was some engine stuff they might have to switch, which would make him go to the back. That being said, there is some optimism about him moving forward, about him being really strong, but kind of underwhelming from Hendrick across the board. So do you buy what we saw from Byron, who has been good here, and our friends over at Win the Race were really high on him pre-week? Or are you concerned, given what we saw from the rest of Hendrick, that Byron might be a little closer to that side than to kind of what we traditionally see?
No, I'm really not as much worried about William Byron, just simply because in this package,
Yeah.
he's probably been the most consistent out of the HMS camp anyways. So, despite him starting in the back and his teammates not putting together great qualifying runs, nor looking that great in practice either, I'm really not all that worried.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like 25 years ago, it was a big thing, but now it's so easy to fix that car. And if he brings
Yeah,
that speed, he's going to be really good.
yeah.
And he's already starting 31st. So I guess between Blaney and Larson, then is it pretty easily Blaney over Larson for you?
Yeah, I mean, you could just follow the numbers at the sports books here.
Yeah.
Blaney was kind of the pivot off of Denny early in the week. Now
Yeah.
Larson did take late money before practice today, I noticed here in Vegas. But in this package, Larson has been kind of, just kind of lazing around the last couple of races. He's been mediocre in a sense that it's almost like they're taking the HMS summer break.
Yeah. I do feel like there's gonna be a week and what we're especially like we're not expecting, and he's just like, kind of like flying under the radar,
No.
and he goes out and just ass kicks the field, and that could be this week. I keep looking at the outright price, but as you mentioned, given what his outright price is sitting at, given at what we saw from Hendrick, given at what his potential ownership is going to be, he seems like the easiest option to kind of fade away. Him, Larson, and Blaney are basically the same, and then Byron's going to be another like 5 to 8% above that. So
That being said, if you can squeeze 3 of these guys with 3 back markers, you definitely
yeah,
have 3 of the potentially best cars.
yeah, yeah.
Because I
Well,
mean, even if Larson looks like shit in practice, they're going to do something
yeah.
on race day to
He's
fix
also
it.
Kyle Larson, who turns lemons into lemonade and adds a little vodka for the party afterwards. So
Exactly.
Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, who ran in today's Xfinity race, Logano, and the aforementioned Ross Chastain are your 4 cars in the 9K range. Once again, another underwhelming HMS outing. Logano's 12th. I think he could be fine, but like I don't know that I want to use him on DraftKings. I think he could do some weird stuff. And as we talked about pre-week, fuel mileage race. he's kind of a guy that stands out, but he leads like 2 laps and wins the race. Chastain 21st, Chase Elliott 18th. Both interesting-ish. If you want to basically an arbitrage version of Blaney or Larson, those are kind of your names. Do you feel good about either Elliott or Chastain as potential pivots if you want to get, not 3 Catherine legs in your lineup?
Well, I mean, Elliott has been having a tremendous season in terms of getting finishing results and
Mhm.
just kind of making a really good day out of a poor starting position or an assumed poor finish. That
Yeah.
being said, I would rather save the salary and go with Ross Chastain, who we've seen actually win a race,
Yeah.
in recent memory that we don't have to actually like go back to VHS tape to find. So, um, yeah, you're getting a couple extra spots too and placement point potential. You're saving $500. Chastain's already won in this package.
Yeah. No, I think that all mathematically checks out for me.
I also think too the roster percentages are going to be, I don't want to say dramatically different, but I think more people are going to gravitate to Chase than they are to Chastain.
Yeah. I
So you
mean,
get a little bit of leverage there.
given what our friends over at Win the Race are saying, it's about half, so a little less than half.
Yeah, and that's a
Um,
significant advantage.
yeah, yeah, especially if you want to get into the Larson, Byron, Blaney, Hamlin group.
Yep.
Like if you're able to, if Elliott's your pivot, that's super easy to get off of, and save yourself, 10, 15, 20%. Just looking on our sims to kind of get a gauge of where Ryan and co have Chastain versus Chase. So pretty significant in terms of top 10 fair odds, which I think is interesting. Um, are we buying back in on Reddick a little bit? He was really fast again.
Um, I don't know, man. We've been burnt so many times this year that I don't know what to make of the Red Dog right now in 2311 in general. I mean, is what happened to Bubba on his qualifying lap a sign of things to come on Sunday where freaking car just the starter blows up and he can't even get the car rolling? I mean, Reddick looked good in practice according to all the metrics, and by the few laps that I like, the lap times that I got to monitor, he looked really fast. But we've seen this out of him numerous times this year. I mean, he's been fast in Kansas. He was fast at Texas. He was fast in Vegas earlier this year, and yet he doesn't get the finishes out of those cars. So I mean, I don't know. I can't trust it right now.
Yeah, it just feels like him and even Bell, who we really didn't hit on very much either. Like they're
And
both back end of the top 10. Like they'll be fine. You expect them to
yeah,
be
but Christopher
solid.
Bell, the difference there is like the winning pedigree for the
Yeah,
20 team versus the 45 is so much higher
yeah.
that if Bell even has a chance to find the front, he's not a guy who's going to fade or make a mistake to lose that. If they get there, they have a legit chance to win. We've seen Reddick in front before and blow it.
So $300 more, one spot further back. Looks like he's gonna have a slightly less ownership. Seems like an easy pivot for us.
Yeah.
Let's talk 8K rather. Christopher Buescher starting on the front row. You had the 17 hat on when we talked on Tuesday night.
Yep.
Big fans of his. His number opened a little bit shorter than I wanted at some books, but our friends over at Superbook gave us a nice juicy 16. So
Thank you,
that was
Superbook, once
good.
again.
Tyrone Gibbs once again starting in the top 10. Buescher's teammate Brad Kay starting 14th. Kyle Busch, who's still bitter about Dale Jr. and I don't know. Starting 26th are your 4 drivers in the 8K range. I mean, if you want to build a lineup and you want to get in more of those guys up here that are starting back here, I don't hate going with Buescher and
Over Hamlin?
over Hamlin.
So that's funny you say that because right when we started talking, that was already in the back of my mind that if you really want it to be different,
Yeah.
you go with Busher as your dominator early, and then you try to squeeze in the guys that are starting further back in the field. But the one thing I will caution here is we were extremely excited about Busher. I believe it was it Kansas or Texas when he started on the pole or the front row, and then he like
Sucked.
threw this he threw the sinker out from the start, and then he ran like 7th through 12th the rest of the day.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's definitely not like the most obvious or like the safest path.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to be like, all right, I'm only doing 3 lineups. I want to get in some of these chalky guys, but I want to find my one unique pivot. You're dropping like 25%. You're getting down to Chris Buescher, and you basically have the same lineup, and you can get a bunch of those studs at the top. And Michigan and Pocono is a good place for RFK. It's got a little bit of Michigan corollary, just in terms of, now obviously Pocono is a tricky triangle. It's kind of got its own thing, but there is a little bit of Michigan to it. I don't know. I don't think it's like something to do in 100% of lineups, but I think 15-20%, maybe a quarter of your lineups. I think it's fun.
Well, I also too important to note, like when you look at Win the Races ownership projections, we're talking like a quarter almost of what Denny is going to be. So I mean, if you want to try to get different than the rest of the field, that's a great way to start for a guy that, yes, Brad Keselowski wants to get a win, but I think it's clear that out of that camp, he's definitely in owner mode, so much so that he would almost prefer to see his other guys win.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
and given what
it
we've
also
seen
helps
this,
him.
yeah, and given what we've seen this year, Brad K is clearly the third option. Priest, Busher, and then Brad. Yeah. 7K Briscoe, Hocevar. Feeling that ticket. As you mentioned, with Bubba biffing his ride, obviously going to be insanely popular, but feels like good chalk. Alex Bowman starting 25th. Have concerns about Bowman, and we talked a little bit about Hendrick, so maybe he ends up being bad chalk. Maybe he ends up being fine and kind of shoves it in my face again. I have the outright ticket on him. You have the outright ticket on him. Hoping to get some sort of, improvement on race day, but not super optimistic on that. Cindric, Priest kind of rounds out. There's a lot of like just little chunky areas. So I guess, do you have any interest in Briscoe, Hocevar, or Cindric? And then, but obviously, or is it Bubba over Bowman for you pretty easily?
Not necessarily. Neither of them kind of exudes confidence in where they're going to finish, especially when Bubba's already had a major technical or mechanical issue on the weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
like I just said, that just like maybe there's some gremlins going on with 2311 while this whole lawsuit thing is still up in the air. And, I don't think that the 9 spot differential between him and Bowman is enough for me to just automatically say, oh yeah, I want to play Bubba over Alex, when HMS, yeah, they look bad, but they're the New York Yankees or the LA Lakers or whatever team, top echelon of the thing that you want to say for sports of
So
their
they spend
sport.
a lot of money and choke when it matters most.
Yeah, but they also have the highest paid engineers, the highest paid like technicians and all this stuff. They're going to make adjustments, and Bowman is really good here. So
Yeah.
it's a long
And
race on
Bowman's one
Sunday.
of those guys that sneaky gets better throughout the race,
Exactly.
even if he doesn't get all the shine of his teammates. You can definitely save a little bit of in terms of ownership by going to Bowman over Bubba.
And honestly, I feel like both have like a similar ceiling. Top 10.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think there's a path to both of them winning this race, and I think there's a path to both of them crashing in stage 1. So
Exactly.
wide range of outcomes.
So save me the roster percentage and get a leverage on the field, especially when you're playing in GPPs like that. That's how you get different stuff like
Especially if
that.
you're buying in a Hendrick. If you're like, yeah, I'm playing Larson and I'm playing Byron and I'm playing Chase, well then get Bowman in there too. 6K, Josh Berry, Daniel Suarez, Ricky Stenhouse, who's still mad. Eric Jones, starting 11th, added him to the top into the card as a top 10 thanks to Full Tank with Phil for the shout out there. I got plus 240, I think, over at FanDuel. Happy to be holding that. McDriver, the Dinger, and SVG round out the 6K. Is there a name or two in that range that is particularly compelling to you?
Not really. I think Stenhouse is interesting just because when we go to tracks where it's more on throttle time, especially you got a long straightaway, I think that definitely benefits a guy like him.
No.
But at the same time, with the 3 different corners, that doesn't benefit a guy like Recchi.
Yeah.
So I don't really know if you want to get that risk averse.
Yeah,
But
I
there's
guess
really nobody else in this range.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing elsewhere. If you're pretty chalky, he might be an interesting name where you could get a little unique and a little upside down. But if you're already like, I pivoted off of Denny, there's no reason to get there. Looks like McDowell and Dinger popping a little bit.
Yeah, I will say on them, I did notice as a matter like that was actually part of the actual practice and qualify or part of qualifying that I was actually watching. Both of those guys got loose during their qualifying laps, and so they're definitely starting much further back than they were going to had they not lost it during their lap.
Yeah, and the fact that McDowell is like had a good practice, just didn't qualify like he should have, makes it a lot more compelling for me. We'll round out the rest of the field. Zane Smith, Noah Gregson, Todd Gilliland, Justin Haley, Austin Dillon, John Hunter, and Cole Custer are starting the top 5. Sure. Tyrone Dillon, Riley Herbst, Cody Ware, and Brendan Poole. I mean, just a barf bucket of like grossness. Like, I don't know what to do with any of these guys. Like, Nemechek's gone, Custer's gone. Ware and Poole are probably no-goes, depending how aggressive I want to get. Like, if I could get like 4 of the guys, like I can do Denny plus 3 of the studs at the top, and I have to play Cody Ware or something, like, okay, maybe I do a Riley Herbst. But I don't feel good about it.
No, not at all. Now, I think honestly, the only way you play a guy like Herbst is if you have confidence in, say, Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick.
Yeah.
Have good weekends, and that 23-11 has kind of figured something out. And if you're not high on them, why are you going to go play the third car who is already starting kind of in his ceiling range of where you think like he would be gaining spots? He's already starting there.
Yeah. Like, and he's going to be really popular for a back marker, and I don't want to get in on a popular back marker unless it's like somebody who shouldn't be starting back there and is priced wrong or something just because they looked awesome in practice. But Riley's been pretty underwhelming most of the season. He's kind of just been there, and that's probably where he'll finish all year. So let's jump into it. I think we start with Denny initially, but we will build at least one lineup without Denny just to see how it feels. All right, so I guess of the kind of up here guys, Blaney, Larson, Byron, Chase, Chastain. Like, do you
Blaney.
have Blaney?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna see if we can squeeze in Byron too.
Oh my gosh.
I know it doesn't feel good, but how do we feel about Tyrone Dillon?
I probably like Dillon better than, well,
he's $200 more. He's 2 spots forward, but I think his upside is higher.
I think he could ride around a lot safer than Riley and just maintain, I guess.
Yeah.
Although, yeah,
I guess, do you believe in 2311 being good tomorrow or today if you're watching it?
what?
Or do you think they're just ticking time bombs and all their cars are going to explode? Let's start with
build one with confidence in 2311.
Okay.
So I think here we try to squeeze Bubba and see if that's feasible. Okay. Then you can play Gilly Gang.
Yeah, fine.
That worked really well.
That's honestly too easy, so that's kind of scary, but
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine. All right, let's build another one.
All right, we're starting with Busher with this one.
Simpatico, my friend. All right, let's see. Mr. Busher. All right, Christopher Busher, you are the dominator. Then we go to Blaney. Then we go to Byron. Then we go to what's Chastain? Is that the other one we want to squeeze in? Kyle Busch. I mean, I could.
I feel like we might be able. Yeah, I was just gonna say we might be able to get better value by going up because I mean, obviously you trust Larson more than Chastain. No.
I mean, do we really want to go Brennan Poole and Ty Dillon? Oh, well, I guess let's do this. Let's take out Poole. Let's take out Larson. The next thing we could do is do like a Josh Berry or a McDowell, who I actually kind of like McDowell. And that gets us up to like a Keselowski. I don't love.
Yeah, I don't really love Kez. I'd rather play Bowman.
All right, so let's back that out. Let's get Bowman in there. And that gets us to 77. That gets us to Bubba if we want to do it.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all.
And then we could actually do. Yeah, I think Dylan's the move for this one.
Yeah, we can't play Riley Herbst twice.
No,
he's a one and done.
Yeah,
that feels pretty good. Unless you don't want to play Bubba.
I'm fine with Bubba. I'm just wondering if by going from Denny down to Busher, if we're like getting all the juice, if that makes sense. But like, I don't. Hocevar is not the move. I'm not playing Cindric or Priest, but like going to Barry seems silly. Like we talked about, but Bubba starting 34th, but he looked good.
He looked great in practice.
Maybe this is a lineup. Let me see something. Where is Riley? And then we play Riley and Bubba. And then we save that.
And then we take Riley out of the first one.
Exactly. Oh, but that one doesn't have enough money to do that.
And then you got to play.
Oh,
well, you'd have to pivot off of Gilliland.
Yeah, I think we just take him out of this. No, not this one. This one. Wait. This one.
Yeah, and you would just play Dylan there.
Yeah, I think that's the move. All right, let's build one more. Now. All right, Dennis Hamlin. Kyle Larson. Do we want to do more of a balanced build? We could do Bowman. We could do Bubba. We could do Barry.
That's balanced?
I don't know. Seems pretty balanced. We're not
Let's
getting.
not have Bubba 3 times. I don't feel comfortable with that.
That's fine with me. You said you like Stenhouse. If we do Stenhouse, that gets us up to 9,200.
I would rather play
McDriver.
What is?
We didn't play him.
I would rather play Allmendinger.
Okay.
Than Stenhouse.
That gets us up to 96, which is Chase Elliott.
We don't really love him, but I don't hate that at all. Because he's going to just methodically find track position.
But if we do this, and that lets us get Christopher Bell in. And we're already playing Denny.
Yeah, but at this
Or
stage,
Tyler Reddick.
oh my gosh.
Or we could do Chase and then take out Chastain.
I would rather play Chastain than Elliott.
Okay.
And then probably Bell over Reddick, just because I just don't trust Reddick right now.
Yeah. Let's see here. I guess my question is, let's figure out who we actually want to play, and then we'll figure out if we want to upgrade the McDowell or the Dinger spot. I think McDowell would probably be the upgradable spot, unless we want to upgrade Bowman to something even crazier, or do let's see. I guess. All right, so we have Chastain, McDowell, and Dinger with Denny. Who do you want? Who else do you want in there? What would be is Blaney your top guy? Do you want to try and squeeze Byron in here and see if we can do something else? Do we want to try and do I guess Bubba.
So my two guys coming into the week that I wanted to play to win, obviously Hamlin wasn't even in my purview because I was not playing his openers, and I'm not playing 3.5 post. It was Blaney and Busher. Those were the two main guys that I was like, oh, I love these guys coming into the week. And they basically backed up everything that I thought was going to transpire.
Yeah. And see, I'd much rather play Barry and Blaney than Bowman and Bell. Maybe that's silly.
Well, I mean, the fact that you're getting a potential race winning car at 20 as opposed to 9 and Bell, I think that makes all the difference. I mean, that's 11 spots. That's a lot.
And you like Dinger over McDowell, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we're playing them both, but
the one thing I will say about McDowell is that that they're going to get very aggressive on strategy.
Yeah, we're getting into that weird part of the year where it's are people racing for wins? Are they racing for stage points? Are they racing to be aggressive? Are they racing to be just there? Are they, there's a lot of
Yeah, because I think traditionally you would look at those two guys in the same exact way, in that they were both looking at the upcoming road courses as their one and dones. But Allmendinger has been accumulating points on ovals enough to actually be in playoff contention. So he can't really sacrifice stage points or a good finishing position if he wants to stay in the playoff hunt on points. Whereas McDowell, much further back in the points, he needs to get a win anywhere he can. He can't just, try to point his way with crappy points at an oval when he doesn't necessarily have the speed to win. So they're going to get aggressive to find track position.
Do you have any interest, instead of playing Barry McDowell, playing Bubba and Gilliland? Or maybe that's what we basically did on our other lineup.
I just feel like we'd be so
chalked in.
Yeah, we would be so tied into Bubba that.
Yeah, I think this looks good. I think
we're dead if he wrecks.
Yeah, and it's not fun when you're 70-80% of your lineups contain somebody and they blow up in stage one. I've had it happen. Larson.
Yep.
Far too often. All right, let's look at the updated outright odds. I'll refresh this just to make sure it's most up to date. But as you mentioned, Denny is a big favorite. He's 3.5 to 1. A lot of places. I will pull up the secondary odds on my other screen just so we can have a reference in case there is something that's outlying. Sports, all right, NASCAR. But beyond there, Blaney, Reddick, Larson, Bell, Byron, Busher are kind of 10-1 or shorter. There was a lot of like 12s on Busher. I know FanDuel has 12. So I think that's honestly fine. I got to check a number to see if that's correct because that would be wild. I think our friends in the Discord might be moving lines because let's see here. Motorsports. No. This is bad radio. Yeah. You want to know what Chris Buescher's odds are at BetMGM? You're muted. You're muted.
They're probably single digits.
7-1.
Oh my gosh, that's stupid.
Yeah. I wouldn't bet anything. 10 is like the lowest if you really love some Chris Buescher. I think there's 12s, 13s around. I'm very much into 17 this week. Brian was in on it, and given what we've seen, given what our friends over at Win the Race are putting out, I think he is incredibly compelling, and that's why I mentioned even from a DraftKings perspective, using him as your early dominator. I think he can lead a bunch of laps and be really good.
Yeah, and obviously what I said earlier, I was on mute the whole time, but Blaney, he's actually 8 at MGM. To me, that is definitely a fireable number. I would, if you don't have any Blaney on your card, with Hamlin taking on so much of the hold, Blaney is a guy who is also really good here at Pocono. Always looks forward to coming here, and at 8, I love that.
Would you bet him at 7 or 7.5?
I think 7.5 is good. I think 7's pretty good on Blaney too. I think he looked good enough in practice to say, "Oh yeah, this is definitely a car that's good enough to win here."
Yeah. What about beyond? I think Blaney, I'm with you. I like him. Busher, I like him, and I'm not 1,000% sure I'm gonna do it. You'll have to go to the Substack article to check it out. But I think I'm gonna do Ford to win. It's a little bit longer than you're muted again. Oh wait, no, you're not.
I wasn't talking.
I know. But it's longer than I expected to see, and I just keep I do this. I've been doing this the past couple weeks, and it's kind of been working out. So maybe I'm trying to keep something going that's just been randomly working. But I like Blaney. But so the problem is, I like Blaney. I like Busher. I think Logano can fuel tank his way to a win.
Yep.
Maybe we get a weird Keselowski win, but they're clearly in terms of options that we reasonably can see winning the race, third, right?
I think the only reason why they're always priced the way that they are because they're very top heavy in the sense that there's really maybe 3 guys weekly that have a chance to actually win. Whereas Toyota, you look at JGR, that whole camp it's assumed that they have a chance to win. And then Tyler Reddick is added in there. And then Chevy, you have all of HMS and Chastain. And so for some reason, people are still high on Kyle Busch when just no.
Well, to your point, I'm looking at the top markets on another book. Top Toyota: Hamlin, Reddick, Bell, Briscoe, Gibbs, Wallace. That all feels pretty good. Then you hit Eric Jones, which is someone I like for a top 10, but don't think he can actually win. On the Chevy, as you mentioned, all of the HMS guys: Larson, Byron. You get Hocevar in there. You get obviously Chase and Bowman. You get Kyle Busch. You get Ross Chastain, and even Suarez to a lesser degree. But if you do that with Ford, it's Blaney, Busher, Keselowski, Logano, Austin Cindric, I guess,
or Josh Berry. And I think that's the
and then you're diving into Cole Custer and Ryan Preece and Noah Gragson and Zane Smith and
I don't know. I actually feel good about that Ford to win number, especially if you don't have any of the Ford camp, just because you get Blaney and Busher both inside 10-1 Caesars both inside 10-1.
Yep.
And then you also cover yourself if Brad somehow finds a way to the front at the end, or if Logano does his typical, BS and fuel tanks his way to a win. So
yeah,
it's really not a bad look at all.
Yeah, I plus 250 feels nice. Like I get why Toyota is where they're priced, but plus 250 feels good. So yeah, I'm gonna put that on the card. To kind of balance out my exposure. Let's see. Let me actually look at the current card so people can have an idea where our card is at and where we might be going. Let's see here. So I had Hocevar and Bowman at longer numbers. Chase over the Red Dog, which we'll see how that works out. Eric Jones, top 10, plus 240. I like that. I can see you're adding Blaney, and I'm going to join you on that. So we'll tank his week. And then I'm going to add Busher at the longest number I can find. I think FanDuel. MGM is at 8. And then Busher is 12. And I'm going to add Ford to win.
If you're going to add Ford, then you should probably I guess you covered if both of them win, you win. And then if they don't, you're covered.
Yeah, it's just like and maybe like the way Full Tank with Phil does it is he bets a manufacturer and then he looks for longer shots to kind of hedge against that happening, but I don't know. It's like the week I bet Chevy when I was all Chevy heavy, and then Ross got it, ends up cashing it for me. I bet Trackhouse last week, obviously. So I don't know.
Yeah, and this is definitely not a week where you can go like, oh, Penske or
exactly.
RFK. Like you need both covered for sure.
Yep. Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else. Well, obviously, I'm gonna do the Substack this week. Brian can't really see his screen, so we're gonna give him the week off, but he will be back. But the betting card will be filled out, and his full betting card will be on there. Grid Rivals thoughts will be on there. The link is in the description, but it's aoppodcast.substack.com. It comes in your inbox every race day. Highly recommend clicking that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. Nuggets to your inbox, and obviously we go deeper in detail on the podcast. Books are starting to populate. Oh, I was wondering, is there potential value on the Bowman plus money against Bubba?
100%.
It feels like it, right?
It's the same thing. We talked about it, that neither of them, you can't put confidence on either of them to finish well.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give me plus money on a matchup that's essentially a toss-up between two guys that could have an issue go down, or, and especially with Bubba starting further back in the field because he already had a damn mechanical problem, I would gladly take plus money on an HMS car.
Yeah. So, like, just for example, our friends over at Win the Race have a head-to-head tool that you can plug in two drivers into and see kind of what their sims would price it at. And per the Win the Race tool, the head-to-head is wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and add Bowman at plus money against Bubba, even though I like him this week.
I like that.
I just, getting plus money seems silly, especially when I was already on Bowman to win. Let's see, Bubba. I kept looking at Bubba all week, but I never pulled the trigger. I don't know. We'll see. Any other driver you're considering getting action on or trying to find a way to get into your card?
Well, I mean, full disclosure, because I didn't really get a chance to watch fully watch practice the same way that I normally do, I have less confidence this week than I would traditionally at a track. That being said, it's going to be hard to go into a race at Pocono and not have any Hamlin exposure. So trying to find a way to incorporate him into the card, I think is important and something I'm going to try to do here before we go green.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And obviously, there's no sporty car of the week because your attention was elsewhere during practice. But as we always do, we get all the information. We use our friends over at Win the Race. We get all the thoughts. We have our week thoughts. We're doing our homework to get everything ready. So, giving you our thoughts. Brian is toughing through it. I am here as always. The newsletter will be in your email inbox if you're already subscribed. If you have yet to do that, go check it out. Give us a thought. You can go back and look at all the ones we've ever posted and kind of get some ideas of what our newsletters look like and our favorite bets and all that kind of stuff. It's really good, really useful information to fade or to follow, whatever you want to do. Make sure you click the like button. Make sure you click subscribe on the way out. It costs you nothing. Helps us out tremendously. That's Brian Twining live from Las Vegas. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's cash some tickets on Sunday. Drop some comments. Let us know. Who are you backing? Who are you excited about for DraftKings? Brian and I will try and get as many responses in there as we can. If we're adding to the card beyond what gets posted in the newsletter, we'll add it in there. We've been doing that in the pre-week too, and that's been kind of a fun exercise.
Yep.
Obviously, a little bit early of a race this week. And then, Brian, I don't know if you saw, but I was looking at the NASCAR schedule, and it looks like we have a Saturday race next week.
They're doing Saturday Atlanta?
Yeah, it looks like Saturday night. Let me double check the schedule.
Please be true.
Yeah, Saturday the 28th is the Echo Park Speedway. I think maybe because it's part of the it's like the first round of the in-season challenge.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we'll be recording Friday night. And in your feed on Saturday, because if the race is Saturday, that's when you'll get Saturday, June 28th per NASCAR's website.
That's fantastic.
So we'll put our heads together Friday night. It'll be in your feed Saturday morning. It's a Saturday later in the day race. That'll be fun. But we'll have all of our thoughts out as always. We'll also be back in your feed Wednesday.
Hopefully I'll be fully healthy. I'll be able to see.
Brian can see 5 feet in front of him. That would be good for, I think, everybody. But we'll recap everything that was Pocono, get you set for Atlanta, and then obviously break it down from a DraftKings perspective. Hell, maybe if everything's out and ready to go on Monday, we can try and record a little earlier since the week, but that's all based on what the books give us. So we'll let the books dictate that. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. You can always hit subscribe, turn on those notifications. As soon as we pump out content, delivered right to you, little notification bell saying, hey, there's a new angle of pursuit. Go check it out. That is Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you next time.